What's up? Need to change my mic up. All right. Hello, God's girl. Thanks for joining the live. So real quick before we get started, we are Kindred PDX, doing our Instagram live. We do these every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you need help with your dog, got stuff going on, hit the link in our bio, get a call scheduled. We can talk about you and your dog, where you're at, what's going on, where you want to be, and come up with a game plan to get you there. So hit the link in the bio, book that call. Hey, well, what's going on with your husky? Because now is a really good opportunity to maybe get some good tips. You can just throw them right into the chat. Shane, try to like restart the app or something. It's saying you can't join. I don't know what's going on. That was weird. Yeah, well, somehow I was trying to zoom in on the camera and it swiped to the right. Oh. And it went to like a story and then it just like booted me and then it wouldn't let me back in. Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Yeah, God's girl. What's going on with your dog? We can talk about this. Because what's going on for you is very likely probably going on for someone else too. So he's very leash reactive. When there's another dog to react to them by lunging and barking, if they show aggression towards him, he'll throw it right back at them. Okay. This is very typical stuff. All right. And I was just talking about this on a client video that they sent in. So what I want you to do is stop walking your dogs. Not in the way that you think, like don't stop walking for good, all right? But I want you to scale back what you're doing, okay? So there's gonna be a couple of things that I want you to start with, all right? So first, I think it's on, so go to our YouTube page. We have a bunch of free training videos there, all right? And one of them that you're going to watch is called Charging the Good and the Yes Marker, right? That's gonna be step number one. We have to get your dog working for their food because that's what you're going to use to motivate your dog to actually change their behavior over time, eventually, right? Without motivation, we are hoping for things to happen, and hope is not viable. So you're going to watch the Charging the Good and the Yes Marker, and you're going to start working your dog for their meals. You might start this inside your house because going out in front might be way too hard for your dog at first, okay? Then what you're going to start doing, and you can just do this as well in unison as you're working on the charging of the good and the yes marker, is I want you to find 2 points in front of your house. This could be a mailbox to a mailbox. It could be from driveway to driveway. It could be light post to light post. And I just want you to walk in between those 2 points, okay? Can your dog walk with you calmly between these 2 points? And if your dog starts to pull, you're gonna go the opposite direction, okay? That is the easiest thing to do, right? Without looking at your dog, that's gonna be like baseline work right there. And as your dog gets better, then you can extend that point. So now you're gonna walk between like, you know, driveway over here, and then the second driveway down the street, and then again, back and forth. And just set a timer for like 20 minutes, okay? If you see a dog come up, I want you to go back into your house or go into your driveway or go into your garage, because you need to block your dog from rehearsing that reactive behavior, okay? Because he is getting rewarded with the reaction, okay? Because when he reacts, either you're probably walking away or that dog is walking away, and
or
it's just
they just pass by.
Yeah, they just do a pass by, but it's like reacting, and he continues to rehearse that behavior. And so you need to be in a position to stop that from happening, okay? Because what's happening in his brain is that reactive pathway is getting strengthened. Every time he reacts, it's just like that highway is getting stronger, okay? And the only way to stop it is to burn that highway out. It's gotta stop getting traction to create a new pathway, all right? So charging the good and the yes marker, free video on our YouTube page, along with a bunch of other training videos. You can 100% train your dog on those videos. Absolutely, okay? They're all listed in a playlist, how to dog training, okay? And then walk your dog between 2 points for 15, 20 minutes. And then I want you to play with your dog more, okay? Get a tug toy, tie a rope to it, and have your dog chase it, okay? We also have another video on our YouTube page called Demonstrating Play Markers. And I just listed it as public, so it's available to you for free, okay? And just to make sure that the charging of the good and the yes marker is also available. Public. All right, free videos. They're right there for you. Start with those 2 videos, and you know, take your time. This fits into the patience that we are going to be talking about today, but it's going to take some time, okay? You're going to likely have to maybe do this inside your home and walking your dog inside the home, right? You'll get to outside, okay? But you got to baby step it, all right? Because what your dog is saying by getting reactive out there like that is like he's not ready for that yet, okay? So we have to compensate. We have to scale things back until our dog is ready, and also we're ready, okay? We have to also be in a position to help our dogs, okay? And you're only going to be in a position to help your dog if you know somewhat what to do, okay? This is really helpful. I have an e-collar with vibrate and beeping mode. It seems to help when I communicate with that. My goal is to let him run off leash in a park. So
what have you actually trained your dog on? That'd probably be like, where's your dog at?
Yeah, I would highly recommend not using the e-collar and pushing buttons, because then it can just, like, I love e-collar training. We definitely are into it, but you can also your dog can become like desensitized to it. Okay. So it takes training to use the e-collar, to also create a sense, like to create some communication there. Again, at the very least, so again, just quick thing, inside your home, you're on a vibrate or you're on the beep, beep him, say yes, give him some food. Beep him, say yes, give him some food. Create a pattern of, you hear this, you hear the noise, come to me to get some food. You hear the noise, come to me to get some food. You feel the vibrate, come to me to get some food. Now, that's very basic. I don't know if I would trust a vibrate or a tone when your dog is running towards something, what we call being in drive mode. But you need to start the conditioning process inside your home first under very low distraction, okay? To again, just get your dog associating collar with food, collar with food, collar with food. Collar means come to mom and get some food. Collar means come to mom and get some food, okay? So, yeah. The running off leash from the park, wonderful goal. What I would do for now is put him on a, 50-foot long line, okay? And do that because that'll be safer, okay? Because you don't want to let him off leash and then have him run off and, now you can't get him back, or he comes back when he wants to, and, who knows what can happen at that point, okay? So I would just scale things back, right? And, also too, we do have an online training course. If you want more in-depth videos, the videos on YouTube are good, but there's way more in our online training course. It's called Calm and Connected. It only costs $250. That will teach you recall stuff. That'll teach you all the basics you need to get your dog started on e-collar training, okay? Also, we have an essentials course. It's a 4-week course. There is online coaching once a week. That's $395. And same thing, you have a bunch of videos that you'll work through throughout the week, and then you can get onto a weekly coaching call with me, so we can talk about troubleshooting with your dog, get into like the more specifics with what's going on and what you could be experiencing throughout the week. But don't use the e-collar unless and if you are, do it in a very low distraction environment so that your dog actually understands what it means, okay? He knows sit, stay, sometimes off, inside, up, out, lay down, wait, leave it, spin. Okay, that's good. But he doesn't know recall, okay? So you need to work on that. And that would be done in the backyard, inside the house. And it's very low level distractions.
One thing to also just think about, right? So it's like, even though your dog may know sit, down, wait, stay, sometimes stay, right? So it's like, obvious, like a duration time isn't there is built up enough, right? So it's like a dog that can sit is great, but can the dog lay down for a period of time? Does it have impulse control? How good is the impulse control? And there's a lot of variables that go into just like teaching behaviors. You know what I mean? And it's like, like if I tell my dog to down, it only downs when I have food in my hand. It only downs if I give it leash pressure guidance. Like if the dog doesn't really understand what the command means, right? Likewise with heel, with middle, right? Dog knows middle, but how good do you know middle? Could you cover your mouth up and say middle and the dog's going to go into this? Can you not move your body and give your dog cues? There's all kinds of things that go into the obedience to help with like actually the dog knowing what is being expected. And so going with that, adding in your e-collar, it's like you want the dog to have a very clear understanding of just all these kind of things, very clear understanding of what the collar means, how to turn it off, nuances, I guess.
Yeah, and God's girl, that would be a good indicator, like, can you put your dog into a down and go into another room and he stays in that down? Can you put him into a sit and you go into another room and he stays in that sit? Can you do that outside even as well? It's everything always is a progression. It's like it starts inside your house because that's low distraction. Then it might be in your backyard because that's like mid distraction. In your front yard, that's more high level distraction. Go to a park, that would be more like higher level distraction than in front of your house, right? So there's just levels to it.
Because like
And
when you think about the reactivity stuff, it's impulse control,
yeah.
right?
Thanks, Becky. Yes. Get a professional to do e-collar training. That's going to be the best route for that. Yeah, 100%, Becky.
I love this that I can see the comments now.
Yeah, that's really nice, actually.
All right, so let's get in with this, man. Patience.
Yeah. All right. So patience. You know, so the patience thing came to mind because I was watching a jujitsu video, and you know, at the end of this video, it was basically like, just start. You know, go do training. Don't worry about other people. Everybody's on their own journey, and you know, we have a friend who's training with us and he does jujitsu, and he's always talking about, like, he's always making comparisons to it. And I think there's a lot of validity to that. And I think sometimes in dogs, we want to rush the process a lot. And I think I mean, I did this when I had my dog who was struggling. But I was comparing myself to other people's dogs, because I would say, oh, you know, my dog looks like him, so why is he not being fixed in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you know? And every single dog is different, you know? Like, I'm different than everybody else who's working those dogs, you know? And there's just so many variables. And I've had a lot of clients too lately that, you know, they have like a young puppy or something, and they're like, why is he not better? You know, he's 6 months old and I've been doing stuff with him for a month. And it's like, you've only been doing stuff for a month, you know, and he's 5 months old. Puppies are like mashed potatoes. Their brains are, they're not capable of like retaining information yet, you know? And things take time. It's going to take as long as it takes, right? Like, even dogs who, you know, because I think it's really easy when you watch videos online, you see dogs go to a board and train, they enter one way, they leave another way, but there's still a huge learning gap in those moments. You know, like, when you watch a dog be off leash inside of a fenced in park and they're recalling the dog, wonderful. You know, that's a new skill that dog has. But how pressure tested is that skill, right? The owners who are taking that dog now, are they going to have the muscle response to call their dog when it's mid chase towards an animal? Unlikely, because they have not practiced. They have not been able to yet pressure test that stuff. So they need to have the patience to practice, understand that, like, okay, just because I got my dog back from this thing, from this, you know, training, doesn't mean we're ready to like go hit the beach right away, you know, because your dog will blow you off, you know, because your skills are not matched up yet with your dog. So you got to have patience.
You can look at a relationship aspect too of those things, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to create the buy-in with your dog, you know, and all of that stuff takes time. And so I had some like things here, right? Like, the dog at the park who seems fine. It's like, you don't. There's a picture, you know, of this like iceberg, and it's always like, you always see the end result, but never all the work that goes on underneath, right? And I think that is just so applicable, you know, because you could have a dog who is like super great, went from being super reactive or something like that, and they're looking wonderful, but it took them 5 years to get there, you know? And I really push people to watch their dogs, because their dogs are going to tell them exactly what it is that they need from you in that moment in time. And it doesn't matter how much training you have done. Like, you could be doing training every single day, and then, you go out and your dog is doing something and you're like, you've never done this before. It doesn't matter. Like, your dog is giving you this information right now. We have to like set aside what we think we should be doing and do what our dog needs in that moment, and I think that fits into the whole sphere of patience, because you could be like, oh, I want to take my dog on a hike, we're going to go up to Mount Hood, and you're like, I hike with my dog all the time, and in Portland, right? We go to Powell Butte, we go to Tabor. My dog is wonderful there. And then you go to this new trail in Mount Hood, and your dog's acting like a knucklehead. Do you have the patience to work your dog through that moment, or are you getting frustrated because you can't get on the trail right away and do the thing that you were planning on, or the thing that you had the expectation of doing?
As you kind of mentioned that, man, like this is one thing that came into my mind with like, when you mention like patience, and that goes in, right? It's like you have people can have a one-track mindset, right? I'm going on the walk, we're going hiking, we're going to the park, right? Just yesterday, I actually shared this with you yesterday. I was like, I was out at the park with Polga, and I see this person walking up, and the dog is end of the leash, completely tight. You can just see the struggle for the dog to get to the park, right? And so then as they get to the park, the leash comes unclipped, right? And the dog is already just out of its mind as it's like getting to the park. And then what happens? The dog just boosh, beelines it and runs right up to us, and it's like, because this, what I saw, this person in their mind, we're going to the park, I'm going to take you off the leash. The dog probably enjoys it. She probably enjoys it for the dog, right? But it's like, what's the dog practicing in this moment, right? Pull to the park, get to the park, and when it's like, okay, you know what? You could go to the park and then just like let your dog sniff for a little bit. Don't just like be so rushed to take it off the lead. Like, let it sniff around, let it calm down, right? Like, work through that excitement and then unclip your leash if that's what you're going to do. Like, the reaction that you will get from your dog is going to be so totally different than when you unclip it immediately right away.
Well, then it's also, that just fits into the whole, like, what are you saying yes to? When you unclip that leash and your dog is choking on the leash, you're saying yes to the choking on the leash because this is what gets you free. So your dog is just going to do more of that, So,
but it's like, if you just slow down, watch the dog, damn, you're freaking jacked up right now. Let me wait this out. You know what I mean? And just like you said, it's like, if the dog's pulling and it's like, and you're like, okay, here you go. Now you get to go off the lead. It's like, you just stop. Just stop. What's the dog do? Just stop moving. Watch them. Yeah, they might still get in the leash, but they're going to back up because they're going to be like, this is uncomfortable.
They're going to move into the leash.
Exactly. And so again,
you can move forward.
Yep, and it's just like that is just going back into patience, right? Slow it down. You're going to get to the park eventually. You're going to unclip the leash eventually, but maybe it's not today. Maybe it is today, but maybe it's in 20 minutes.
Maybe it's in 40 minutes.
Exactly. But the more you practice it, the dog's going to be like, oh, this is what gets me off the lead. This is what gets me off the lead. This is what gets me off the lead. And it'll...
Yeah. All right. So we have another question here from Becky. So I would like to know how you know when to practice off leash. So that's a really good question. So, well, now these wonderful spots exist called sniff spots. These were not around when we were first starting training. But that is something that I have been doing with clients just actually as of like 2 weeks ago. Actually a week ago, meet at a sniff spot. It's all fenced in, and we let their dog off the leash. No leash or anything, okay? And it's all fenced in, so the stakes are really low. You know what I mean? So that could be a really good option to just test where your dog is at. But this is what I did with Lucy and with a bunch of other training dogs. Well, so caveat, with training dogs inside of our program when we did board and trains, they were never off of a leash. When we would take them to a park, they would be on a 50-foot line and we'd be holding onto the handle. There was never a moment in time where that leash was not in our hand, okay? But, you know, even in those moments there, like, could I call the dog off of a squirrel? You know, if they're fixating, can I, you know, here, do I have to tap the e-collar? Do I not have to tap the e-collar? You know, those are all things that are telling me where the dog is at, you know? But we would also be working inside of our training facility, and we would be doing things like, we would put the dog into a down. We would go put a food pile. We would scatter food across the hall 50 feet away from us. And then we release the dog to go eat the food. They're eating their food. Can I call that dog off of the food and come back to me, right? And we would go like, we'd be like, okay, they go get it. They're eating. Here, good. Place, down, send them back, right? Let them go eat again. But can I call the dog off of the food? That would be like first step. Second step, can I call the dog off of the food before they reach the food? So now we've got the dog into a down. Food pile is over there. We release them to go to the food pile. Can I call them back before they reach it? Here, good, place, down. Okay, go get it, right? And then again, you know, let them eat for a couple of seconds, call them back off, put them back into a down, release them again, you know, but can I call them off mid-chase? Because that's a big one, right? Because if you can call your dog off mid-chase to the food, like that's them, they're in drive mode. You know, it's like, even though it's not a squirrel, psychologically, it is still the same.
Something they want, something valuable.
Something valuable, okay? Something that I did with Lucy too, specifically, it would be off of her toy, right? A favorite toy of hers. I tossed the ball. She's like, huh? You know, looking at it. She looks at me. I'm like, okay, get it. Can I call her off of that, right? Yeah. If you start with leash, e-collar to correct if they mess up. So it's not necessarily to correct. You're just saying like here, right? And you're gonna use, like, they could drag a leash for this to help them out. But you know, you're like, okay, here's your normal level, like 8, for example, right? And you're like, down, okay, good. And then you're like, okay, dog's eating their food. And then you go here with the tap, okay, didn't feel that one. Here with the tap 10, here with the tap 11, here with the tap 12. Okay, 12. But good girl, place down, you know, and then you release them again, and then you start it back over, and you're learning levels of like, where's my dog at when they are invested in this thing? And usually, yeah, what I would start with is like, you know, she's on a 6-foot leash or whatever. You have her in a down. You send her to go get her food, and then you're just like literally standing, you know, 6 feet away from her. She's eating her food out of the food bowl or on the ground. And you're like, buttons on in the continuous phase. Here, leash pressure as needed. She comes off. Yes, place. And then you can send her to go back to the food, because the food is the indirect reward. So you don't actually need to pay her for coming off of the food and going to place. You can just re-release her again to go back to the food.
You know, one thing that you can do, so it's like a lot of this stuff, you can use a long line, right? And just pick your leash up at, you know, stand close to the dog, right? And then it's like you can move farther away as the dog picks up these things. And so it's like, you know, certain stuff you can do with your dog, like, you know, so Ruben was saying, it's like, you know, call your dog off the food while they're eating. Call the dog from the food before they reach the food. You can practice recalls so the dog has to ignore the food, right? So it's like, you know, you could put like food in like a Tupperware, you know, so instead of like on a food pile, or, you know, put it in something that's like off limits, right? That could mimic, you know, a chicken bone on the street or a sandwich off there, you know, and it's like, yeah, you don't, that is off limits. You don't want them eating out of the Tupperware, so it's like, you won't have any type of association with that. And so now it's like, I'm going to recall you and you need to avoid this thing, you know, like, and I mean, you can do numerous exercises with that, but other stuff that you can do with your leash that's just going to help you gain a better picture of what your dog like knows. So like your long line, it paints a picture for the dog, right? Even if you put your dog in a down or you have it on place and you're 20 feet away and you're holding onto the lead, or it's like, you know, it's lined up to where you are, that is going to give a cue of where the dog needs to go, right?
That creates like a line.
It creates a line for them to follow. And so now it's like you can start to break that line, right? So the line might run over, you know, between A and C, or A and B, but now you've moved over here to A and C, right? And now you call your dog to you, right? Now the dog's moving freely and you're, oh, it's going this way. And so you kind of cut across, you know, to flank it per se, right? And you call it off of that. So you can stop like having this hand holding of like, I always have this leash. I'm always doing these kind of things. You can find these moments to break where you're not having to follow that line, right? And if you can get really good recalls with that, it's like, okay, what happens if I just, you know, instead of having like, you know, the 50-footer, maybe it's like, you know, you can probably, again, you have to feel comfortable with where your dog is at. Like you can do all of these things. You're like, okay, shit, I kind of just got to try it out and see what I get. You know, put a 6-foot leash on the dog and let it be free. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Find a thinner leash, you know, create a little paracord ones. Now it's like, you know, dragging a long line, the leash can be heavy. So there's always going to be a little bit of resistance. So now you have a lighter leash to go on there. And now it's like, again, less resistance, right? The dog's going to feel even more free. And so, yeah, you know, just little things that you can do to help paint those pictures. You know, it's for me, the very first time I let my dog be off the lead, like, you know, I was a novice handler at that time, you know, and I remember what I felt like, but I was just like, we're going to try it. For the most part, it went well until another dog showed up.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a public park, you know what I mean? And like, it wasn't a large space. And so it was just like, yeah.
Yeah, totally. And even like, you know, yeah, like Shane mentioned, the paracord, so good, because we notice a difference in dogs when, you know, we have them on a 50-foot leash, or like a 6-foot leash to a 15-foot leash to a 25-foot leash to a 50-foot leash.
Well, if they're dragging like a cloth leash compared to like a
biothane. Yeah, but the paracord is like, it's like non-existent, you know? It like doesn't feel like anything. And then it also is different too when you just have like a short little like traffic leash on them, you know? So it gives that feeling of freedom, but like there's also other info, because dogs are contextual, you know? So they're like, oh, okay, I have this on, so, you know, I need to mind my manners a little bit, or I'm just like, I'm still connected to a certain degree, you know? So yeah, it's always just like these little progressions to that, but you know, it's
but then you also take the barometer when your dog's off leash in the house, you know?
Yeah, you know, like, yeah, that's another good one, you know, like when your dog is inside the house and they're barking at something, can I call them off of the door? Can I, you know, can I call them around from room to room?
Like a guest shows up.
Yeah, you know, I mean, those are all just those small daily occurrences as well, you know, practicing off of getting affection from the kids, you know, letting her be free. She's walking around the kitchen, you know, she's smelling what's on the table, calling her off of that. Don't underestimate the daily interactions as well. Like, yes, the training moments are helpful, but you know, those are just a small part of the day. You know, it's like, what's going on when we're just existing inside the house? And so, you know, yeah, you have your dog on place, you know, but let her be free. And, you know, you don't have to call her back every single time, but like sprinkle some things in there. She goes into another room, you know, whatever.
Random moment. Hey, I need you here.
Random moments, just like that. But go to new places too, you know, load her up in the car, put her on that long leash, or you start in the parking lot, like walking around, you know, she's smelling the tree here. Yes. Like all of those things are going to help your dog generalize this behavior, because dogs suck at generalizing behaviors. And this, again, I think fits into that patience game of, you know, how many new places have I gone with my dog? You know, if I can only get to the one place, that's totally fine, you know, but then just have that expectation that when I go to a new place, my dog is likely going to struggle. You know, she might surprise you and not struggle, but I think it's helpful for us to have the expectation that our dog is going to struggle, because then I'm not going to get frustrated, because I know going into it that this is going to be a teaching moment, you know, and that's the only reason why people get frustrated with their dogs, is because we have these expectations that, like, you must act this way. We've done all of this training, so you must be good.
Yeah.
When I go to places, I'm like, you're probably going to suck.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, great, you didn't suck. Cool. Like, this was wonderful, you know? But if I go into it with like, yeah, I'm probably going to have to coach you through something, because this is new. We've never been here before, you know? Like, I remember the first time I took this dog, when I took Lucy and Oso camping, my old dog, we'd never gone camping with them before, ever. And I had this new girlfriend, and we went camping, and it was in a camping spot, like at Crater Lake. There's just a bunch of shit going on, you know, and I just came prepared. I had my kennels, you know, obviously we had worked together, like through training, you know, so they were all e-collar trained, they knew place and all of that stuff. And I just was like, okay, you know, what's this going to look like? I just used my training, but I had the expectation that I'm going to have to like scale things back and all of that. And actually it went really well. Because I just went in with the expectation of they're probably going to have a hard time. This is new. There's kids running around. There's dogs running around. There's like all of these things happening. But I didn't expect my dogs to be like, quote unquote, good. You know, like, like what does that even mean anyways? You know, like what is good? Like, just like, you don't do anything bad, or like, you know, like, I don't have to like focus on you or something. Like, I don't know.
I mean, I think, you know, I think for everyone that's going to be just relative to their particular situation, you know, and so, like, you know, for me, I would be thinking like, okay, you know what, like, do I have to give, like, how much feedback do I have to give you? You know, do I have to like, you know, tell you to stop that? You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, again, it's like when you go into it, you know, you know your dog, and you know probably what they're going to do, right? And so if like, you know, hey, you generally do X, Y, and Z. Hey, you know what? We went and did this, and you only did X, Y, and Z like 3 times. Like, that was freaking good. You did a great job. You know what I mean? And so it's like, for that person, that's perfect, right? You know, when I like for example, we talk about camping, right? Like, when I've gone camping with Polga, and it's just like, yeah, she does great. She just lays around. You know what I mean? And it's like, I mean, Polka likes to sniff, so I have to tie her up. And if I don't want to have to constantly like recalling her in, she's tied up to, you know, the 50-foot leash, but she can move around. But she generally just like lays down in the dirt.
Have a good day, Becky. Happy Saturday.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for joining.
But you know, like, it just like, she just lays down. But it's like, I'm prepared to do things, but I'm also setting myself up to kind of go the direction I want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, it's just like, I can't just like tune you out. I never can. I'm always watching. You know, I'm always aware. It's no different than with my son. It's just like,
yeah,
I'm always watching.
Yeah, like, what the fuck are you doing? Get your ass over here.
You know, so yeah, it just, as you know, you got to go in it with the right mindset, you know. And it's like, again, so it's like, what does that mean? Right?
Yeah, and that's what I sometimes think about, is like, what are people's perception of a good dog? Like, I can just check out.
Yeah,
and just
I think that
I just let you do whatever you want to do. Like, no,
I think that's a general consensus, right?
That's not good parenting.
No.
You are the parent to your dog. And if your goal is just to be like, I just want to fuck off, your dog's going to get into some shit.
Yeah. You know, and it's just a thing. But you got to go into that mindset. And again, it's like when you go in with that, it's just like, you know, you have to slow it down. You have to slow down with what you're doing. You got to just like, you know, and even to get to that point where it's just like, you know, so it's like I trust Polga a lot, and but I don't check out, but I don't have to manage her a whole lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, we go to the park, and it's just like, yeah, I for the most part, I let her do her own thing. I call her in every, you know, couple of times, but it's just like when I let her just be free, it's like she's free. Oh, but look at you. You're getting close to those things over there. Here,
Freedom with rules.
I'm aware of what you're doing,
mm-hmm.
and it's just like, okay, you're pushing a boundary now. Like this way, you know what I mean? And so it's like I can't just check out. I can't, you know, because again, it's just like you're a dog. You're going to be doing things, and it's just like, hey, let's go this way. Let's go over here. You know what I mean? And so it just, again, but you got to be aware of this. You got to be aware of what's going on with your dog, and you know, in order to get there, right? Like you got to practice. You got to know your dog. You got to put in the effort, the work.
Yeah.
And I think the best way you know that is by slowing down.
Totally. So real quick, it's 11:45 or 11:42. Just, you know, little. If you need help with your dog, hit the link in our bio. Book a call. We can talk about your dog, talk about your situation, get you on a pathway to getting to where you want to go, reach your goals, help you figure out what that journey looks like for you. We also do these lives every Saturday at 11 a.m. So join us for that. Obviously, you can ask questions. We'll answer them for you. Just had a really good discussion here about e-collar training and stuff like that. So, yeah, hit us up, book a call. So yeah, that's what I got there. So we got 15 minutes left. We already talking about like watching your dog, you know, comparison. Don't fall into that, you know. One of my notes here was like comparison creates urgency, and you know, it makes it feel like, dang, you know, I got to get to this place like quickly, you know, and I think that also fits into the frustration piece, because then you have this expectation that like your dog needs to be doing these things right away because I have friends coming over next weekend, you know, whatever. And it's that comparison creates this feeling of like, I don't know, you know, definitely not good enough, right? Do I have a bad dog or something like that? But it creates this feeling of urgency. And I was just thinking as I was writing that, like, I think I was falling into that trap a little bit. You know, I've been doing salsa lessons for the last like 10 months or so. And early on, I was going out dancing all the time. Like I was going out 2, 3, 4 times a week because I want to get good at it. And recently I have slowed down because I was tired. I was tired, you know, I was like getting home at 12 o'clock, 1 a.m. And then, you know, needing to be up to like do stuff. And I was just like, I was tired. And now I've slowed down, and maybe I'm going out, you know, I do my lessons on Monday, and I'm maybe going out dancing like 1 night a week, maybe 2, right? But I'm slowing down and checking in with myself and being like, I'll get better, you know, like I just got to keep showing up. I got to keep showing up at the capacity that I'm able to show up.
Well, and being consistent on those, right?
Yeah, like, and being consistent, you know, I show up to class every Monday, you know, and then I go out once, maybe twice a week. Because I need to, it's like, it's not about trying to get there the fastest, you know, it's just, let's just do stuff together. Let's just go, because like you'll naturally get better, you know. And it's the same thing with our dogs. It's like, yeah, we have these goals, you know, we have these lofty things that we want to do, and you'll get there. you know, and even when you're on your pathway, you might try to do that thing and it might look shitty. It might look rough, but all of that is information gathering. It's going to give you information as to like, okay, this is what went well. This is what didn't go so well. And now when we're back home in our normal day-to-day stuff, I have a better idea of what I want to work on. So that way we are going to be set up better the next time it goes on. And, you know, and I think it's just,
man.
What's up?
They're blueprints.
It's blueprints. Yeah, it's information. And it's like, we have to be okay with, you know, I don't know if failure is the right word because it's not really a failure, but we have to be okay with making mistakes and not being perfect.
You know, so you mentioned, you know, like the comparison of wanting to get somewhere because, like, you know, like that. So I think all right, I want to get to that spot. Those people are good. I want to get to that spot. Those guys have a great dog. My friends have a great dog. They just let it do whatever the hell it wants to do, and it's great. They don't do anything. It gets along with all the dogs. They can walk it on the leash and whatnot, right? And so I think one of the other things is people might not have the things that they compare to, right? But they get unsavory behaviors, which again creates that urgency, right? My dog sucks at people coming into my house. And you mentioned like, oh, this person has, you know, friends coming over in 2 weeks. I got to solve the problem in 2 weeks. Like, you're not going to solve the problem in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like the urgency to solve an issue, right? When it's like, and it's just like, it's not, that's like, you know, being overweight and I want to get to, you know, I'm 200 pounds and I want to get to 175. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, it's not going to happen in a month.
Yeah.
Like, it's not in your cards, you know? Summer's already here. Like, but you can start taking some steps into achieving that goal so you're ready for next summer. You know, I don't know how to take, you know, but like, do you know what I mean? And so it's just like, you can create urgency in a problem and feel then you feel disgruntled that you haven't solved that issue by the time you wanted to have that issue solved. Do you know what I mean? And so it's like, these are just like, you have to, right? Like, find the pathway to get there.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, yeah, it's going to take time and you have to understand that. And you're going to still have to show up because that's how you're going to get to where you want to get to. That's how you're going to solve the issue. And so despite the urgency, you know, because this is where people will go, I'm training like 4 fucking hours a day. We're going on 6 walks a day.
And that could be too much.
And it's too much, you know, and it's like, and is that sustainable? Probably not sustainable. And so you got to like slow it down and you're going to have to, okay, you know what? We're going to work on this 20 minutes a day, maybe 30 minutes, two sessions a day for 10 minutes each. Like, you're going to have to just slow it down, take your time, and be consistent in what you're doing, right? Because again, it's also not just those active training sessions. It's also all the time that's spent in between of those things. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like everything is connected. Everything is connected.
Yeah. And I think this actually fits into my last point that I had was patience isn't passive. Okay. And what I have written down here is it's actively observing, adjusting, and trusting the process even when it's slow.
Yeah.
You gotta find that pathway. You gotta like, okay, this is the process. We're going to try it out. And assuming that, you know, the process is, I mean, it's hard to know if the process is good or bad. You actually have to invest some effort into, you know, whatever endeavor you're trying to focus in on is like, okay, I got to run with this. You know, I got to try this out for several months, you know, and then gather information and then make adjustments as to what's going to work well for you. Just like what Shane was saying, you know, it's like, is this sustainable? You know, you might start off, oh, cool, yeah, this feels really good. Oh, but then, you know, 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, you're like, you know what? This really isn't sustainable. You know, I'm not enjoying the time with my dog right now, or
I
you
think
know,
I think it's like, it's like when you look at it, right? So it's like, you mentioned like 3 weeks, right? So it's like, let's say you try something out, right? You're working on something, right? And it's like, okay, you're not going to solve their issue in a couple of weeks, right? But it's like, is there progress being made?
mm-hmm.
Right? Like, oh yeah, you know what? Like, okay, you know what? Yeah, my dog is super reactive, and this is how we did everything. And now when we're in the house, it's like we actually have a little bit more relaxed dog. We're not just going out. We have to block these behaviors from happening. So now we're doing some more play. We're doing some actual training inside the house around building skills. That my dog is actually just more relaxed in the house. He's not so jacked up all the time. And it's like, okay, that's progress, right? Okay, now it's been 2 months, and what's the walks like? Oh, you know what? It's like he can see dogs from a distance and he's not blowing up anymore. Cool, that's progress.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like that analogy I had of like losing the weight thing, and it's just like, yeah, hey, you know what? In a month you dropped 8 pounds. That's great. 2 months you've now down 16 pounds. Great. That's like, how close are you to your goal now? Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so it's just like you have to stick with it to see where there's progress being made. But if you're trying something and it's been like 2 months and you're still at step one, you need to reevaluate.
Yeah, totally.
Like 100%, you have to reevaluate.
Yeah.
Like I was at jiu-jitsu the other day, and I was just like, rolling with this guy who's like, 6'3", 200 pounds, and like, we're working with like a closed guard. So you had to open the guard up or like sweep them, sweep from the guard, and they had to pass your guard and whatnot. And this guy's like, trying to pass my guard, and he just like so tense, and I'm just like, I'm just relaxed, and he kind of starts to open my legs up, and then ooh, scissor sweep, and then like we're talking to him, and he's just like, man, like I'm just like I was like, dude, you're so tense, man, like you're so tense, like I can just feel it. And he's like, yeah, dude, I can tell, like you're like super relaxed. I mean, your freaking eyes were closed, and you're just like, and then this moment came, and then you sweat me, and I was like, yeah, dude, but it's like I'm relaxed and I can feel what's going on.
Uh-huh.
And you're so focused. I gotta pass the guard this one particular way, and I gotta make it work.
And plus, his tenseness connects his whole body together, and so you're like, dude, it's easy to sweep you. Like,
Yeah,
I can just, your whole body is just like a board, so I can just like, boop.
exactly. Yeah, and it's just, and again, it's like one track mind, right? Very focused on going one direction. And it's like, this is where it's like, you just got to slow down. And for me, it's like, I'm going slow. I'm able to observe and just like feel what's happening. And it's just like, this is the move I need to make right now. Boop.
Yeah.
And it's no different than with the dogs. No different.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, look it. I'm walking dog, and like, oh, he sees it. Here's a dog barking, and I see his ears perk up. Do I keep going forward, or do I just stop and just like, what are you doing? Hey, good job. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Break the focus. And what did that have to do? A simple kissy noise. And then they're like, oh, I guess I need to worry about that. Oh, hey, why don't you go sniff something? Okay. Do you know what I mean? Like,
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's again, it goes back to what I was talking about earlier. It's like, and even you mentioned too, like, get out of that one track mind. Like, yeah, I am on a walk, but these are the things we talk about all the time when we were doing boarding trains and stuff like that. It's like, I might be taking you outside and we are on a leash and walking, but like, we're not really like outside to go on a walk.
there's no destination.
We're just outside.
There's no distance.
We're just outside doing stuff.
Exactly.
Like, and that's what I want to really get people to be doing more with their dogs, is just go outside.
It's like, yes, go outside. You're on a leash, but you're not just going out to walk. You're going to walk because you have to move, but it's like, do stuff outside with your dog. Get being outside on a leash to feel differently.
Exactly. And you're still walking. Like, And, that's the thing when I was talking about earlier with walk your dog between these 2 points. It's doing this for 20 minutes is the same thing as going around the block. That takes 20 minutes. Like, it just looks different. And this here is the training ground. This here is the gym. So that way, when you do get to the point of walking around the block, you're not just like jumping into the deep end hoping you can swim, because you might drown.
Yeah.
I don't know how to swim. You might be able to learn, but you also might be getting dragged out and getting resuscitation, or what's that? CPR. Right? So yeah, slowing down, right? Are you good with slowing down? Do you have the patience to do that? And, every time I walk into people's homes, they're just like, Ruben, you're so fucking patient. And it's like, yeah, I'm not expecting the dog to do anything. I got to teach them what I want. And how good of a teacher am I? And I think that might be an issue too, to some degree, because your dog is going to point out your faults.
Yeah.
If my dog is struggling, it's not because they're being bad. It's because I didn't do a good enough job teaching them. And can my ego handle that?
Yeah, that's a good point, right?
No one likes to be called out.
Yeah, well, I saw this thing, and it's like, it's not the student's fault for not learning; it's the teacher's fault for not being able to teach. And so it's like, yeah, you have to, you may have to change your tactic and how you're teaching your dog.
Yeah.
Right? Are you being clear with that, or are you sending mixed signals? I mean, it's like, and all this stuff just goes into the details. And how do you hit all the details? By going slow, being thoughtful.
Slow. You got to practice. Got to have patience.
Got to have patience.
It's, that is an overall life skill as well, not just even with your dog. It's patience in
it's like
everything that you
one
do.
Of the things that came to my mind was like, when like you're driving and like a car pulls up to the stop sign and like you're approaching and there's no one behind you, but then like they don't want to brake, come to a complete stop, so they step out and they zoom in front of you because they didn't have the patience just to wait till you passed to go. So then you got to like hit your brakes. Then they start flying because they feel like an asshole because they just pulled out in front of you like a dickhead. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just, dude, like,
patience.
Patience.
Patience, people. Patience. It's like a meditation. You know what I mean? It's just like, and it's mindfulness. Like, that's what all of that fits into. It's being mindful. Yeah. So, anyways, it's 11:58. I think we're going to wrap it up here. Again, if you have questions, if you have issues with your dog, hit the link in the bio. We can talk on the phone. We can set up a game plan for you and your dog. We've got online courses, Calm and Connected. We have a more coaching-focused program called the 4-Week Essentials. More easily accessible dog training, because sometimes working one-on-one with us can be a little pricey. We got to drive to you. We do a lot of stuff with you in person, but I know that's not accessible for everybody. So we've got other options available. Again, like I mentioned in the beginning of this live, we have a whole YouTube page with a bunch of free training videos that you can use and make immense progress with your dog, which will just change your starting point. So then if we did work together, we could be working on different things and working on the nuances with your dog, So don't sleep on that YouTube page. It has what you need. It is so easy to train your dog these days. YouTube, like it's right there. My playlist, how-to dog training, Kindred dog PDX, use it, utilize it, watch it 100 times. You will gain something new every single time. This will be live, or replayed again on Instagram. We'll put it on YouTube, all of that good stuff. But yeah, that's what I got today.
Sounds good.
Shane, any last thoughts?
Really, no, but I just want to chime in, when you do work with us in person, like you get a lot outside of just like your sessions, you get access to the online course, you get 12 group classes to go along with it. Like your training lasts a long time.
Yeah.
A long time. It's not just, hey, you complete 5 sessions in 5 weeks. It's like you'll be training with us for like 5-6 months.
8.5 months.
8.5 months. There you go. You know what I mean? So it's like you're going to be you're getting a lot of time to work with us, and so it's a small price to pay to get a lot.
Price to pay. Yeah.
So yeah. With that, that's all I had, and
cool.
It was good chatting about this. So yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Everyone enjoy your Saturday.
Yeah. We'll talk to you later.
See you later.
Bye.